Hi guys, and welcome to the Sapiens Show, where we accelerate entrepreneurs. I'm Sahil.
And I'm Girish.
Today we will be talking about some of the master tips regarding startup ecosystem with our special guest Rick Day. Let's get started.
Today on the show, we are excited to have Rick, co-founder at Quantlabs and Metaverse. Sorry. Today on the show, we are excited to have Rick, co-founder at Quantlabs and Metaverse enthusiast. He is going to share his startup journey and how he came to an idea to make a metaverse for Durga Puja. Hi Rick, welcome to the Sapiens Show.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here and thank you for having me.
So let's begin with our podcast. Just normal, our audience should know Rick, can you please introduce yourself, like what you are doing and what are the exciting things that you did till now?
Yeah, there have been so many things I've been doing in the Web3 and Metaverse, but I'll start from the start. In the real life, I am an architect, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a software architect or all those shenanigans. I'm just an architect who designs spaces and buildings and interiors and all that stuff. I have a studio, and we do pretty good work. We have been doing graphic design as well, and we pivoted to UI UX design a while back. So the interesting part was if you have a resort, we would also do the website. So something like that. We'll do the design of the resort and the website. So in the Web3 journey, my Web3 journey was very recent, although I have been in the crypto standards for quite some time. I believe I started Web3 2 years back, and it all started with NFTs and me seeing a post of how someone sold architecture for about $100,000, and it was an image of a house in Mars, and that got me interested. And I right then I saw that there are possibilities. It was the global pandemic, right? And we did not have any or much work to do because people were not certain whether they would want to build or not. So I started thinking that all right, let's make NFTs. And I started getting into what is NFTs. I got a very good mentor by the name of Raghava, K K Raghava. He is an artist who sold his Orgasm as an NFT, and the first Indian to do so in and that too in Sotheby's, right? And that was a fantastic product because he asked himself, what can we sell with NFTs? And that was an interesting thought experiment for me because I started asking myself, how can we have real world implementation of the NFTs we sell? People were saying NFTs are just JPEGs, and I wanted to disprove them. And that is where I knew that something else is going to come. The metaverse had its talks then, and I jumped on very early into knowing what the metaverse is. And I found that it's very symbiotic to what I did. And I'll talk to you more about it. But basically, at the end of the day, I ended up making, and the NFT journey has been fantastic for me. I got my wife into selling NFTs, and she's doing quite well. From an artist, I realized I'm an NFT, more of an NFT strategist. So I teamed up with Vishal Malhotra, an actor who was one of the first actors to, sell an NFT. And I teamed up with him and we crowdfunded an NFT project called Let's Collect Live. And we sold NFTs, and all the people who bought those NFTs became producers. So yeah, so we connected Bollywood and NFTs together. So stuff like that. I'm in the process of making a marketplace. We have our own metaverses. There are many collaborations going on. So I think that would be succinct as an answer to what I do.
Yeah, exactly. That's really nice and that's really interesting that you are doing such kind of things. So coming to the point, Rick, please tell us about what is exact the Quantlabs and what inspired you to start Quantlabs.
Okay, to so the I'm one of the co-founders, and the right from the start, I was a bit handicapped with the fact that although I know how to code a bit or script a bit, but I did not know to that efficiency that I could form a tech company on my own. that is there. And one thing that I've learned along the way is like, you should have a team. It's always a team building exercise. Anyway, so my co-founder, he is Ishan Roy. I mean, he had this idea of starting Quantlabs, and I also joined in as a co-founder. We have a third co-founder called Manu, who is a fantastic coder. What does Ishan do? Ishan has been in the blockchain industry for so long. He's like the authority on it. Like he has written books on blockchain, and become the bestseller for that. He works with the government of Tamil Nadu and advises the government on blockchain basically, and how blockchain can solve logistics problems and all that. So he has been an authority on blockchain for a long time. And we decided, all right, I can bring my artistic skills, my UI UX skills, my 3D skills, and strategy skills, and he can bring in his strategy skills for his knowledge about this vast knowledge about the blockchain, and we can start to do something. And Manu, obviously, with his huge area of coding. So we started off making NFT marketplaces. We have NFT marketplaces in our portfolio, blockchain projects. We have got dashboards and so long. I mean, anyone who would come to us with a request will do that. But I mean, again, around the same time, we realized that metaverse is the place to be. Metaverse is the place to go. And when we started thinking and experimenting on that, a client reached us. It was a play to earn company called Get Set Play, and they asked if we could make a theater for them. And I think that is where the actual the metaverse journey began for Quantlabs. So Quantlabs, as you can tell, is a service-based firm based out of Chennai. We are all based in different places. Ishan is in Chennai, so the company is registered there. I stay in Dehradun on the hills. And we sort of have been working remotely and have been trying to make this a success. So, yeah, so Quantlabs is a firm which is based in Web3, blockchain development, and now very recently in the metaverse. And we are going to productivize. We have got 4 distinct products, and that is what happened. And that is what inspired us to start Quantlabs.
I have a question.
Absolutely, Girish. Yeah.
How he sold an orgasm as an NFT?
Orgasm. Yeah, I know. I knew this question would come. It's a very interesting journey. Will I tell you?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you
sure,
have
sure,
time?
sure.
All right. So, so what he did was he set up a masturbation booth in Bangalore. He asked people, yeah, he asked people to come and masturbate for him, and he teamed up. Now imagine this: he teamed up with a neurosurgeon. So there would be wires on people's head while they did that, and then they were asked to have orgasms. And and then they took all this data of this brain firing when the orgasm happens, and they made that into an artwork. But the process of the artwork was not easy because he took all this data. He went to a visual. He went teamed up with someone in MIT who took all these data points. Now the neurosurgeon's part was to collect all the data and coalesce it. Now, this visual artist from MIT Media Labs, I am forgetting the name, but he took it and he sort of interpolated it on the 3D scale of the brain with different colors and everything, right? Now, they had to print it and they had to make it into an artwork. So they teamed up with a robotics company in New York, and they asked him to build a custom art robot which sort of where they fed the data and the robot was basically making the sketch for them. And then Raghava came in with his finishing touches and made it into an artwork. So that is what I mean by saying that he sold orgasms, and it sold for about $100,000 in Sotheby's, which was like, and he was the first Indian to sell an NFT in Sotheby's. So I was lucky to have a mentor like him. Yeah, you can Google all about it, man. I mean, in fact, yeah, he has a lot of stories, but yeah, uh, I'll keep it succinct.
Sure, sure, sure. So coming to us, like as you mentioned, like you have there some of the Web3 and Metaverse domains, right? So I just want to ask you something, like why did you choose Web3 and Metaverse as your domain? Like what exactly that happens to choose like okay, I will go in Web3 and Metaverse domain only.
So I chose Web3 because I wanted to get into NFTs. I love the concept of decentralization, and that artists could get paid is a concept which was very new to us. and artists could get paid again and again and again was something which was like astounding because I have seen this happen that people buy art from artists at $1,000 and then they sell it as an exhibition for 1 lakh and the artist does not get anything, right? So this idea of secondary sales, the idea of royalties, the idea of transparency is something that appealed to me. The idea of owning my own data and all the other things that Web3 offers came in a bit later, truly. But yes, the web, as I understand it, is not kisi ka, like someone's. It is all of us. And this idea uh, has right been there from the starting of web. The web matlab makri ka jal, and it had to be decentralized. But it suddenly started becoming centralized because of the server and load capacities and in the industries who could offer these servers. I hated this fact that, if you sketch something which is controversial, you could basically, be tracked, found out, and arrested. The artwork could be removed from the servers. So that means the control is with someone. I did not like that. I mean, I always like this democratic way of living and the democratic way of having a voice, and that is why Web3. Metaverse, because I think Metaverse would be the early implementation of what NFTs are to be. NFTs, इसलिए, I mean, like, suppose I have got artwork now, for whatsoever reason. I need to show it off. Where will I show it off? I mean, that's the first question. The second question is the lockdown taught us. You notice how many people went into mental depression and mental health issues in lockdown. I mean, we have celebrities suiciding and all that. I mean, supposedly. But and the other fact was it also showed me how old people, I mean people above 70 who have never used a mobile phone properly, could suddenly learn how to call. You must have noticed it yourself, right? So that is like that reminded me of a lecture that I never attended in college of sociology, and I remember only one line of that entire lecture is that man is a social animal, and so much is the drive for that. We need to communicate, and how do we communicate this platonic sitting behind the video, and then people started doing hacks about it, right? They started wearing pajamas, and imagine if it was a one-way conversation, like with 40 people. The other people fall asleep, turn off their camera and go away. People, students started recording. Why? Because there was no activity in class. वो जो the backbenchers were not making comments. वो पीछे में फुसफुसाना, मतलब किसी और के साथ, and teacher को सुनाई नहीं देगा, and small stuff like that. These kind of activities were missing, which actually make our day a bit more interesting. I think it was a very logical, natural answer that we need a world which we can create and which would emulate the world that we already have and have a use case for all the digital assets called NFTs that we are buying. So yeah, so I knew that it was future, so I got into it.
Exactly. And right now, I just want to ask, like, what is that biggest challenge? Okay, I just want to ask, like, what is the biggest challenge that you're facing in your business right now? And if you're facing any challenge, so how you are tackling that challenge?
I think the biggest challenge we are facing are being faced by is faced by anyone who are who go for breakthroughs. Like if you're working with the breakthrough technology, the first time the aeroplane came, people were scared to ride on it because they thought that it will crash, and it did crash. And until safety parameters came in, the first time internet came in, people thought that this is no one would use it. Um, the first time mobile phones came in, I remember my uncle saying, "Mobile phone, I can just call on the telephone. Why do I need a mobile phone?" Then SMS came in, and he did not believe in that. He was like, come and meet. Like in Bengali, he said "Eshe mesh," which is like why SMS. So some stuff like that. I've seen this resistance to technology. In fact, if you remember, Paytm did not. I mean, digital wallets and digital payment did not have much acceptancy till Modi ji came out with demonetization. And suddenly, every sabzi wala knew Paytm because the kids would go and teach Paytm to them. I think that is the biggest challenge we are facing. People are resistive towards technology, and They do not know the extent of possibilities and how it will help them, and they're not educated about it. They think, oh, ये crypto का कुछ है और crypto तो banned है. So these kind of andvishwas concepts are, I think, something that I think you guys are doing pretty well. You are educating people about what Web3 is, and I think that is commendable because that is what we need.
So I have to ask something like, what do you think about cryptocurrency? Like, what's the future of cryptocurrency?
See, I'll tell you something, right? If I go back to the history of stuff, uh, there was gold as the standard, and it has been for centuries. So there was this physical asset, and people were like, "Oh, you have that physical asset; it's a shiny object. So that is our new money or medium of exchange." उसके पहले barter system था. Then gold came in, or shiny objects like silver has some value. And then the Britishers always standardize everything, so there is still the silver exchange and the gold exchange and the metals exchange they have in Britain. And what happened was after the World War II, I think the dollar came in as the new economy because they started saying that all right, you have to make the standard the dollar. And what happened then is that countries started getting uh, facing a lot of problems. Their economy started because the dollar actually, if you start printing more dollars, you can you can do so, but it will sort of not inflate the economy that much. So that is what happened, and it was a very strange index. And so China started making its own, standard. Russia started doing it. So the problem is that if any country or any entity does it, it's not exactly decentralized, and we face the same problem. So a new standard was required, and what best than a digital standard? I think cryptocurrency is here to stay. And you know why the resistance is? The resistance is not because it's a terrorist fund hota hai, which is the reason that is given. I think the reason is that it is more transparent, and people are scared of that transparency. कितना पैसा किसके पास गया और उससे क्या हो रहा है is something which is scary for many people. और इसको हम लोग टैक्स कैसे करेंगे और कैसे आएगा, and all these thoughts which are very naive thoughts come into your mind, and that is okay. But I think the future of any technology is here to stay. I think cryptocurrency is one of a big breakthrough technology which has enabled a lot of things, including the metaverse. The concept and the tools of the metaverse has been there for a decade or so. Samsung came out with his VR glasses, I think, when I was in college, right? So the concepts of the metaverse have been there. The WebGL technologies that we use have been there. But till we had ownable digital assets, the namak in the food was not there. So I think it is here to stay, and it will enable a lot more things going forward.
Awesome. I didn't know about it. My next
Actually,
question. I have a next question.
yeah.
Like, what motivated you to create a metaverse for Durga Puja?
Okay, so it starts with a client I cannot name, right? I hope that that is okay. All right. So we wanted to build an ashram for a very famous ashram, a digital twin, and for uh, for someone who has sort of who's no more there. And the concept was that why not use NFTs as building blocks for this entire ashram, and people can see this digital ashram and all that. I mean, long story short, any in India or in the world, any technology right now has been forwarded or used mostly in the scale of religion. I remember when I was young, I have seen the net had come out, and I've seen like in Calcutta, there is a Gariya Hut. I had gone to a shop and I saw that he had this CRT monitor PC back in the day, and he switched off. I mean, he went online and went to a website, and the image of his idol opened up, and he could sort of press a mouse button and ting ting awaz hoga and all that, right? I think religion is something that has unified religious sentiments has unified a lot larger set of people. Growing up, it was Durga Puja, and it has always been for Bengalis. That is the time when you get some kind of freedom from your home, and you come and it's like Diwali for North Indians basically, or maybe Pongal for South. I do not know, but it is a unifying sort of culture. And I and Ishan both are not staying in Calcutta. We are Not we are Bengalis, but we are not in Calcutta. And we thought that okay, and we had missed two or three Durga Pujas as so many millions of people all over the world. We said, okay, why not use our product as an excuse to combine two products basically. We made a metaverse, I mean Durga Puja metaverse, and I do not know if you've seen the videos, but yeah, where people can go and offer flowers, listen to mantras, be with others, talk with others, socialize basically. And also we thought, okay, we want to commemorate the 100th, the centenary year of Satyajit Ray. Satyajit Ray, if you do not know, is a huge icon. I mean, for Bengalis, he's a role model as a filmmaker. So our theaters was running his movies like continuously. We also thought that it would be a very good thought experiment to see how many people come. And can people naturally, walk around in this environment? Can they interact? And we were like pleasantly surprised with the amount of turnout that we had and how people talk to each other. So, as estimated, people sort of these were social experiments. So, I estimate people made their own small groups, started talking with each other, and our metaverse has spatial audio. So if someone is talking from the right, you'd hear from the right. If someone is talking far away, you'd be hearing feeble voices, right? Just like in real life. So ऐसे छोटे छोटे ग्रुप्स बन गए थे सब अपने में बात कर रहे थे. It was fun. It was really fun. So that is what was the motivation. I think we had more than 1,000 people in 2 days that we had run the, yeah. I mean, for some, and we did not advertise as much as we should have. We were like sort of, this was a side project and a passion project, so we did not involve the entire team and all that. We made it ourselves, sort of. And we did not expect कि इतना turnout होगा, frankly. But yeah.
I would like to know if I want to be a metaverse developer. So what should be the roadmap for it?
So, are you, Girish, are you a left brain person or a right brain person? What I mean by that is, do you like art or do you like to code?
I like art.
You like art, all right. So there are two elements which is required to be a metaverse developer. One is the coding aspect of it, of how you, I mean, like build this world. And we use a technology called, right now we are using 3JS. We also use Unity. We use Babylon JS. They are web. So the idea is clear. We have to make it web based because web is available, or the internet browser is available on all devices. So instantly you are inclusive. It's not a .exe file कि बस Windows 11 and above में चलेगा. That's not it. That's not what we want, right? We want a web-based thing. Now, if you want to be a metaverse developer, you either have to go from this web development route and coding route and understanding 3D and WebGL and all that, or you can come in from the art-based route, which is basically understanding how to make 3D, understanding how to export that 3D in web standards called a GLB file or a GLTF file, and using that, and basically that's it. So you would probably first start learning Blender or 3ds Max or Maya or something like that, and then probably go on to game softwares like Unity or Unreal. Unreal 5 does not support WebGL out of the box now, so it will be Unity or open source engines like Godot or something like that. So the funny fact is, if you were in the game development route, you would already know, you already have the skill sets to be a metaverse developer.
What if someone is like a in from a coding background or interested in coding other than art?
Okay, if someone is on the coding background, so it's from a coding background, I would ask. So if they are okay, there are many schools of thought, right? But if someone is from, let's say, C coding background, C plus, C plus plus, C sharp, if that is the coding background, then I would ask them to go for Unity and Unreal, and spruce up their skills there. If someone is from a web development coding background, like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, I'd ask them to first understand how a canvas works as an HTML on an HTML document, a canvas, and then how do you render WebGL on a canvas. If someone is from the Rust, let's say Rust side of things, I would probably ask him to see how to make a WASM or a WebAssembly module for the metaverse. Am I being clear? Okay, so if you're just a JavaScript developer or If you are a JavaScript developer, which is huge, you can use elements. You can learn 3JS, which is an npm package. It's an open source tool. You can, yeah, you can go for Babylon JS. You can go. I can recommend Bruno Simmons' course actually, which taught me 3JS, and it's 3jsjourney.xyz. It's a fantastic, fantastic course for someone who is trying to learn how to make 3D, just 3D in the metaverse. And then I would ask people to understand or know a bit more about what cryptocurrency and the Web3 technologies are. Because just by implementing 3D on the, like, 3D up, I'm sure growing up you must have seen cars and stuff moving around in the internet, right? But as soon as you put Web3 technologies in it, connect it to a wallet, it loads from a wallet and it has a smart contract, then the actual fun of the metaverse comes into play. So these are the two, three things I would ask them to concentrate on.
Right now, I just have two questions right now. Both sound same, but having some different meanings. So let me ask you the first question. What is the most important lesson you have learned over your career that you have to tell us, like, over your career? I'm asking for what is the most important lesson that you have learned over your career?
I would like to answer that. Um, I think the most important lesson that I've learned is storytelling is important. In fact, it is the most important ingredient of any startup, any venture, any professional thing that you're doing. People would are emotional beings and they would like to hear your story. They would like to know who you are. And if they like who you as a person, they would close their eyes and invest in your product. And that only happens when you tell those stories and know where they are coming from. So if you're telling contextual stories, you would connect people and you would talk to them in an instance. But if you read from a PPT, like or many of us do, I mean, I've seen many people doing. I think we you would have lost the client in 5 seconds. I think, and people say storytelling, right? But no one really tells what storytelling exactly is. I think storytelling is not having a fancy story. It is about connecting the dots and making contextual statements. I'll give you an example of a very famous question once asked that I think it was either Mark Twain or Ernest Hemingway. I forget names. I'm bad at it. But he was asked, "Can you give us an example of a story? And what is the difference between stories and facts?" So he said, um, "The queen died, the king died. The facts, they're facts, right?" I'm sorry, there is no reference to the queen recently, but the queen died, the king died. Facts. The queen died, and the king died of a broken heart. Is a story, right? And if you can set that seemingful context, and if you can tell it like that, you will have your product sold. Some stories are also. I'm sorry. I'm continuing with my last thought because stories are also as so Ernest Hemingway was famously asked that how short can you make a story? Can you write a story in 6 words? And he said, yes, of course. And he said, what is the story? He said, uh, baby shoes for sale, never worn. And that's it. And that's the story. And instantly, when you hear these lines, you start thinking these questions, right? Acha, baby shoes. But why is it for sale? Why was it never worn? Did the baby die? Or did something happen? It can be a tragical story, it can be a comical story, but you're making it. The point of a story is that it should incite the users or the listener's imagination. And if you can do that, and you can sort of excite the users, for example, when I said Raghava sold orgasms, it got you interested, right? You went off script completely. So, so that is how stories excite. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. My other question is, like, as I mentioned, like, it is having two questions but having some different meanings. Like, what one lesson your job has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point of their life?
To let go. My that is the short version. But the bigger version is my, yeah, that's the short version of my answer, to let go. The bigger version is my grandfather used to say, one step backward for two step forward.
I would like to know what is your biggest failure and what was your experience from it. If you're comfortable in sharing it.
Absolutely. I'm very comfortable in sharing my failures. I have been very bad academically because I've been all over the place. I've been trying to learn things more than things were required. Again, my grandfather came to my rescue and told me that, oh, passing exams is very easy. You have to commit to memory and vomit on paper. And that is how the education system of India is made. You don't have to understand. Commit to memory, vomit on paper, and that is for all the students listening who wants to get a good grade. Exactly. Mug it up. Yeah, that's the line we have heard. Mug it up. Yeah, then and the problem is I could not remember. I mean, like suppose class 7 का चीज क्या class 8 में याद ही नहीं है class 7 में क्या था. And I do not want that to happen because I draw right now also I draw a lot of my concept from what I'd learned in the past. For me, learning was something else. So I think my biggest failure was not maybe uh, achieving the grades that maybe was expected of me. That was one. I'm not regretting it, but my point is that what I took away from it is that you always have to be contextual, right? Every context and everything is different, and it's just no one cares if you're learning or not. They also have a job to do, and with all respect to my teachers in the past and all, they also have a job to do. They also have a salary, and they also have a structure that they have to follow. One more failure, if I can call it, um, one more failure, if you can call it, is the fact that I do not know this, but like for example, I have not sort of stuck to one region at the same time because of a very internal belief that I need to be location independent. So obviously, when you are sort of hopping from here to there, your fame also stays in. So for example, I'm in Dehradun. I get projects from Delhi. Get projects from Calcutta, and I have to travel to and forth and all that. So I think location establishment was not my goal, but for an architectural firm, if you look at it as an architect and an architectural firm, it might be called as a failure. I do not know, and I have no. I mean, I have no learnings from it except for the fact that you have to be you, and you have to do prioritize things. Whatever you prioritize should be on the agenda. You have to prioritize पैसे कितने चाहिए और उसके बाद उस पैसे को खर्च करने का टाइम कितना चाहिए. So, like I try to make a balance. I prioritize time. I enjoy my time with myself, and that is what I learned from them.
हमारी स्क्रिप्ट खत्म हो चुकी है अभी
Okay,
हमारी
okay,
स्क्रिप्ट खत्म हो
okay.
चुकी है तो do you want us to ask any another question like
मेरे ऊपर ही डाल दो. That is very good. I would have asked so many questions, man. मैं क्या पूछता पता है? I would have been very informal and I would ask because देखो अगर if you're making these podcasts now very formal, the Sapiens show is very good. The humans of New York की तरह या Bombay की तरह, but if you are sort of making this very formal ना, what will happen is people will listen and then like ठीक है हो गया. But I think informal talks are best because you can communicate, really communicate. So मैं पता है तुम्हारी जगह क्या पूछता. अच्छा ठीक है वो सब तो ठीक है, ज्ञान ज्ञान की बातें छोड़ो. पैसे कैसे कमाते हो आप? Yeah, yeah. And I was like, and I was like, ये ना आए, but ये ना. Um, I think that um, again मैं तो थोड़ा academic sorry educational वाला part से ही बोलूँगा कि there is a book called I think one page business plan करके. बिफोर स्टार्टिंग एनी स्टार्टअप ठीक है, इन्वायरमेंट हो गया, पैसे आ गए, आइडिया आ गया, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो गया, सब कुछ ठीक है. अब क्या करना है, पैसे कहाँ से आएंगे? सो आई थिंक बिफोर यू आई मीन एंड दिस इज अ मिस्टेक many people do. They don't have a business plan, and I think one thing that everyone should do is make a one-page business plan. In fact, read the book. I mean, it's better than me telling what to do. So there is a book called One Page Business Plan. Just make a one-page business plan कि potential clients क्या है, उनको reach कैसे करेंगे, growth कैसे होएगा और ये. हमारे को पैसे कैसे आते हैं? और इनफैक्ट कोई भी टेक कंपनीज को जो फ्री में चीजें बांटते रहते हैं, पैसे कैसे आते हैं? देर आर टू मेन एवेन्यूज, राइट? वन, पैसे वी गिव आवर सर्विसेज। आपको पता है क्या होगा वैसे इंडिया में? लोग पतंग चलाएंगे और ड्रोन को पैकेज काटने की कोशिश करेंगे। मतलब this is just a random thought, but I think drone makers and package deliverers should think about this कि पतंग मार के और गोली चला के नीचे ना करें। हमारे दिमाग में तो खुराफाती आइडियाज होते ही रहते हैं, बट लोग ना करें ये सोच। But yeah, but it is an interesting place of where things are going. Drones have still some year to go, some time. If you have any questions to me directly, you can connect at. So I go by the name Architect, like Architect and Rick Day. So usko short करके Architect. So if you are trying to follow me on Twitter, it's RDTech TCT, and it's that's on OpenSea, and that's on all the places where you'll find all the NFT experiments that I have done till now. So yeah, if you have got any questions for me, you can sort of just type in at the radar detect and I'll be there. My DMs are open to answer questions.
Yeah, sure. It was a pleasure having you in the podcast. It was a fun. I think this should be the closure, and we'll see you in the next podcast regarding the NFTs and with your wife, maybe you and your wife, maybe if she agrees.